Chapter 251. The son's wrongdoings is the father's failure to teach. Dead. He is truly dead. What happened? What the heck is happening here? Fei's corpse was on the ground like a dead dog. How could it not attract attention? In just a short period of time, the commotion here had become so big that it spread throughout the whole camp. More and more people started gathering. Most of them cried out in surprise when they saw Fei's corpse, as they would start inquiring about the events. In moments, the scene was surrounded by layers of human walls. Whisperings and discussions could be heard everywhere. Two people suddenly fought and one died immediately after. It's terrible. He is the killer. Someone cautiously pointed at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was holding his arms crossed at his chest and his head held high. He was standing indifferently at the same spot, and ignored the discussions and the surroundings as if they didn't exist. Hey, he is only a servant. How could he kill a Gu master? There were naturally people who were doubtful. He is not a servant. I personally saw him shooting out a white spear and also killing Fei in one punch. It frightened the soul out of me. A Gu master who had seen the whole event said, "A white spear." Chenxian's heart suddenly jumped when he heard this. He had accidentally witnessed the death of Zhang Zhu, and the image of Fang Yuan's spiral bone spear was deeply ingrained in his mind. Thus, when he heard the sensitive term, a white spear, he immediately linked both scenes. What is happening? What the hell happened here? Jiao Long's displeased voice traveled over. It is the caravan leader and the vice leaders too. The crowd quickly made away. Someone is dead. All right, someone was killed. Isn't this vice leader's son? The vice leader who looked at this scene commented in a low voice. Just after he finished speaking, a mournful scream resounded in everyone's ears. My son. What happened to you? What happened to you? A figure rapidly ran to Fei's corpse. Then his movement slowed down all of a sudden. This person was Clan's Yang Gong. He was short and thin, with an aquiline nose. Fei's face was completely smashed. His brains and blood mixed together to form a small puddle on the ground. It was clear his life force was already completely extinguished. Yang Gong fixed his eyes at his son's corpse, tears rolling down his face. My son, you died such a terrible death. Who was it? Who was the one that killed my son so viciously? I am going to rip him into pieces. He was ballistic with anger, and his scream was like the ravings of a madman. Seemingly as a reply to his question, every gaze is gathered on Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan sneered and calmly said, "Of course it is me. Are you blind? I have been standing here for so long and you couldn't see me." Such an arrogant reply caused the crowd to immediately fall into a clamor. Jiao Long and other vice leaders also couldn't help frowning. Fang Yuan's fearless appearance was causing them to hesitate. In particular, Fang Yuan's servant clothing made them unable to see the ins and outs of this situation, thus they cautiously chose to stay on the sidelines. You were the killer. Yang Gong stared intently at Fang Yuan with gaze as sharp as a knife, but despite being almost crazed with hatred, he didn't make a move. Fang Yuan was slightly surprised. His own son was lying dead in front of him. But this Yang Gong was actually restraining his killing intent and didn't rush at him. Actually, who among those who traveled outside to trade weren't observant? Yang Gong had lived for so long and was habituated to life or death in his travels. He was an elder, and being able to stand in such a high position in Clan was a proof of his ability. However, him not making a move didn't mean Fang Yuan wouldn't. In all honesty, Fei's appearance had made Fang Yuan extremely happy. He would make an example out of him as a warning to others, and his strong presence could then awe the crowd. But just an Fei wasn't enough for it. But what if he added in this Yang Gong? Ha ha ha, that would be perfect. Fang Yuan's lips curled up into an evil smile as he thought of this. Old man, you appeared just in time. Your son dared to be disrespectful to my clan's lady. The anger in my heart has yet to dissipate. Your son committed a crime because you didn't discipline him properly. You are the main cause of this. Now pay with your life. After saying this, he ran forward and, in a blink of an eye, he was almost about to collide against Yang Gong. Yang Gong's beard flew with rage. What was this nonsense? What twisted reasoning was this? This guy was clearly the killer, but was framing him as the main culprit. He was no longer able to restrain his anger and fiercely struck back at Fang Yuan. Bang! The two collided against each other. There was a muffled sound and wind surged around them. Fang Yuan continuously took 5 to 6 steps back before he was able to mitigate the impact. The light armor on him flashed weakly several times and then stabilized. In his aperture, Canopy Gu had already become listless. In contrast, Yang Gong was sent flying like a puppet with its strings cut. He puffed out blood in midair. and could barely stand up when he fell on the ground, his face already pale as paper. Anyone could see who was stronger. How could this be? That ugly guy is clearly showing an aura of a rank 2 Gu master. Ouyang Gong is disadvantaged. He is old and has become weak. In contrast, that guy is using his advantage to the fullest. The vice leaders quickly analyzed the situation. You were courting death. Ouyang Gong managed to recover after their initial confrontation. His anger flourished even more, wishing he could immediately rip Fang Yuan into pieces. Just before, he hadn't expected Fang Yuan to make the first move, and not having any information on Fang Yuan, under the urgency of the situation, he couldn't think properly and chose to meet Fang Yuan head-on. Rascal. I will let you know the difference between rank 2 and rank 3. Ouyang Gong roared in rage and charged at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was fearless as he maintained the canopy Gu, with a spiral bone spear in one hand, blood moon Gu in another, and jumping grass on his feet. He also rushed towards Ouyang Gong. The crowd quickly retreated, opening up a huge empty space. Ouyang Gong was at rank 3 initial stage, and Fang Yuan was at rank 2 upper stage. The difference between their cultivation bases was extremely far, with the separation of a small realm and a big realm on top of that. However, Fang Yuan's situation was very unusual. He possessed snow-silver primeval essence borrowed from Bai Ning Bing and mostly used rank 3 Gu worms. His total fighting strength was even higher than Ouyang Gong. The two fought for 5 rounds, but Fang Yuan was still at the dominating end. The crowd were aghast at this situation. What the hell is going on? A rank 3 Gu master is actually being pressured by a rank 2 Gu master? This is ridiculous. The crowd couldn't believe this scene, and many had even dazed expressions. After several more rounds, Fang Yuan completely maintained the upper hand and was firmly suppressing Ouyang Gong. A small portion of the crowd realized something. This ugly guy is showing rank 2 aura, but his true cultivation is definitely above this. Right, he must be using a Gu worm to conceal his aura. We didn't discover it when he was pretending to be a servant before. This guy is really vicious. He has been targeting Ouyang Gong's vital parts. It doesn't seem to bode well for Ouyang Gong. Right now, Ouyang Gong was having incessant grievances in his heart. He had thought he could easily beat Fang Yuan, but to think this guy was actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. It was no wonder he took the initiative to attack and looked fearless. It was because his cultivation base was not inferior to him. This guy really was too despicable and shameless. After several more rounds, the result was clear for all to see. Most of the crowd could see how terrible Ouyang Gong's situation would be. Ouyang Gong is sure to lose. He will be killed if this continues on. Ouyang Gong is weaker than the other guy and has been slowly losing since the start of the battle. He won't be able to avenge his son's death. This ugly guy is really powerful with such great strength and vicious methods. Where in the world did this guy pop out from? I know this guy. He is that servant who won against numerous bandit monkey kings in Feihou Mountain. The crowd commented one after another. They were worried, curious, afraid, and shocked. Both of you, please stop. There has to be some misunderstandings here. Seeing Ouyang Gong about to be killed by Fang Yuan, Jia Long, as the caravan leader, couldn't just sit back anymore. He quickly moved to the battlefield and interrupted the battle. Right now, Ouyang Gong was already soaked with sweat. His heart throbbed rapidly in fear of death, and his face was deadly pale. Hearing Jia Long's words, he immediately felt joyous and saw a light of hope. He immediately got away from Fang Yuan and moved closer to Jia Long. Fang Yuan quickly swept his eyes and realized he would not be able to reach Ouyang Fei in time. He gave a loud laugh, and his momentum stopped. Brother Jia Long came in time. Let's use the bone spear to kill him together. The moment these words came out, the whole crowd was stumped. This ugly guy knew leader Jia Long. This was the first thought the crowd had. Greeting in such an affectionate way, their relation looked pretty good. This was the second thought the crowd had. No. He might be intentionally saying this to mislead them. This was the third thought the crowd had. As the proverb goes, people involved in the situation are baffled while the spectators observe clearly. The spectators weren't battling. Naturally, they could think more clearly. At this moment, Jia Long was feeling bewildered, because he had never even exchanged a word with Fang Yuan before. Ouyang Gong was even more bewildered. He couldn't come to a judgment as to what relation Jia Long and Fang Yuan had. He knew Fang Yuan could just be bluffing, but what if it was true? If it were to be true, then he would be pincer attacked by Fang Yuan and Jia Long. It was a matter concerning his own life. Ouyang Gong naturally wouldn't dare to take the risk. Thus he changed the direction and escaped towards southeast direction, away from Fang Yuan, and Jia Long calmed down. Jia Long immediately stopped to avoid arousing any suspicions. Fang Yuan laughed loudly and chased. Yang Gong immediately realized he had fallen in Fang Yuan's trap. He was just about to speak up when suddenly someone charged out from the crowd. Bai Ningbing attacked ruthlessly. In that instant, 3 spiral bone spears shot out in a row. There was actually another person? Yang Gong was horrified and subconsciously activated his defensive goo without even turning around. However, this goo was like a spent arrow. It blocked 2 spiral bone spears. But the 3rd bone spear directly pierced through Yang Fei's head from the back and penetrated his front skull. Yang Gong died. His death caused everyone to turn pale in fright. A huge uproar occurred among all those present. This was a vice leader of the caravan. A rank 3 Gu master. Yang Gong's death caused the caravan leader and vice leaders to turn pale, feeling a dense threat. Brazen lunatics. They really dared to kill a vice leader. Let's combine our strength and capture them. Who dares to capture me? Bai Ningbing threw away her straw hat. Her silver hair floated in the air, and her cold eye swept through everyone as she fully released her snow-silver primeval essence. It is snow-silver primeval essence. She is actually a rank 3 peak stage Gu master. In the caravan, only Jia Long was in rank 3 upper stage. Rest of the leaders were either in initial stage or middle stage. The group that were just about to make their moves suddenly halted. Come if you want to die, ha ha ha. Fang Yuan stood side by side with Bai Ningbing and willed a thread of snow-silver primeval essence from his aperture, playing with it in his hand. Oh God. Another rank 3 peak stage. The crowd trembled in fear. Their momentum completely stopped. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing gazed at everyone with cold, indifferent eyes. The camp was silent, completely silent. Chapter 252. The only thing that matters is strength. Whoosh, mountain winds blew through the camp, enhancing the quietness of the camp even more. The 100 over people formed a circle. Inside the circle were 2 dead bodies and 2 standing people. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing's gaze slowly swept through everyone. Many did not even dare to match their cold gaze at the end. Fang and Bai's gaze landed on Jia Long and other caravan leaders. These people had charged out aggressively, but were immediately taken aback by the cultivation levels Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing revealed. Right now, they were in a situation where they could neither retreat nor advance. With the loss of Yang Gong and Fei, the caravan now had 11 rank 3, 27 rank 2, and 38 rank 1 Gu masters. Their combined strength was naturally greater than Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing by a lot. However, the caravan was only a temporary mix match of different groups. These Gu masters were from their respective clans and were normally engaged in scheming and guarding against each other. They would only cooperate if it was under a favorable situation. They had their own interests and were not a united bloc, and had their own ways of doing things. They were of different minds and would not be easy to lead. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing displayed rank 3 peak stage cultivation. No doubt they were 2 tough figures. No single clan could take them down alone, and even if they combined their strength, there would definitely be severe damage to the caravan. Momentarily, Jia Long, Chen Shuangjin, and other leaders looked at Fang and Bai before quietly sizing up each other. None of them wanted to be cannon fodder and benefit others instead. Moreover, the current situation was one where the beast groups frequently attacked. Everyone in the caravan were having trouble protecting themselves, let alone care about others. External pressure and the worries in their heart made them hesitate. The corner of Fang Yuan's lips curled up into an indistinct smile. Their reactions were all within his expectations. Now, it is all up to her. Although things had escalated quickly and he hadn't communicated with Shang Xinci, Fang Yuan believed she should be able to sense this opportunity with her intelligence. Sure enough, the next moment, Shang Xinci and Xiao Dai walked out of the tent. Caravan leaders, these 2 are my Zhang clan's hidden elders, Lord He Tu and Lord Bai Yun. Shang Xinci took this chance to introduce them. Her voice wasn't loud, but she was the only one speaking among everyone present. Thus, everyone could clearly hear her. The caravan leaders all had different expressions, whereas the crowd began to think over the 2 names, He Tu and Bai Yun. Shang Xinci faintly smiled. The 2 lords were on a secret clan mission and coincidentally entered this caravan on the way. The caravan leaders looked at each other. all falling into silence. Since they were hidden elders, even Zhang Clan's clan leader might not necessarily know of their existences. Moreover, the secret clan mission meant it was inappropriate to inquire about their motives. Shang Xinc's 2 sentences blocked any questions they wanted to ask out of course. Although these words were reasonable, it was only a one-sided statement by Shang Xinci. The caravan leaders were all astute. Each of them had made their own contemplations in their minds. Nobody was thoroughly convinced, and suspicious ones were still suspicious. But whether suspicious or believing, Feng and Bai's strength were already displayed before them, so there could only be one way to end this. Thereupon, so it was like that. Everything was a misunderstanding. Jialong suddenly laughed, his face revealing a warm smile. He cupped his hands towards Feng and Bai, and sincerely praised them. I had never expected such great heroes to be hidden in our midst. This father and son from O clan were indeed too unreasonable, and their way of doing things were also questionable. I have already persuaded them many times before, but a pity they didn't take it to heart. Their execution today can be said to be they're just deserts. These words had immediately concluded this matter. The other vice leaders also responded at this moment, cupping their hands at Feng and Bai while cursing Jia Long inwardly for being shameless. Zhang clan is well known and is worthy of being one of the top clans of our southern border. I am Lei Gong Chung of Lei clan. It is my good fortune to be able to meet both of you. It is our great fortune that both of you have exterminated evil for us. The vice leaders were all full of smiles as they said nonsense, twisting logic as they pleased. The killers became the righteous representative, while the O clan's father and son became evildoers. As for O clan's other Gu masters, there were only 3 of them remaining, who cared about their unsightly expressions. In any case, O Yanggong was dead. Without a rank 3 Gu master, who would dare to be bold? Who could stand up for them? You scoundrels, still not greeting the 2 lords. One of the vice leaders shouted while pretending to be displeased. We pay respects to Lord He Tu and Lord Bai Yun. Over 20 people immediately bowed and greeted Feng and Bai. The whole camp was again sent into a clamor. The caravan has suffered heavy losses and is on the brink of crisis. It is our fortune to have met both of you. Please, I invite you into the tent to further discuss our situation. Jia Long walked closer and invited them sincerely. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing glanced at each other, before Fang Yuan walked toward Shang Xinci and consulted. Xinci, what is your opinion? Seeing this scene, Jia Long immediately raised the status of Shang Xinci in his mind. Shang Xinci slightly shook her head and spoke with a delicate tone. I am tired. It is better for the caravan leaders to discuss together. Fang Yuan inwardly praised her intelligence. This was just the time to take a step back to make an opportunity for greater advances later. That he nodded and said in agreement. Our Zhang clan's goods have all been donated. We have no interest towards these and will not interfere. This, Jialong hesitated and was about to persuade, but Shang Xinci had already turned around. Feng and Bai also left in an impressive way, without giving any opportunity to Jialong, leaving behind this crime scene for others to deal with. All right, everyone get back to your work now. The camp still needs to be strengthened. It is a good thing 2 rank 3 peak stage Gu masters appeared, and the O clan's people clean up these 2 corpses. The only 3 remaining Gu masters of the O clan ran over. 1 rank 2 middle stage and 2 rank 1 Gu masters. Tears flowed down their faces as they held in their hatred, lowered their heads, and carried the father and son's corpses. The crowd slowly dispersed. The high-spirited caravan leaders couldn't maintain their composure any longer when they were back at the tent, their expressions fluctuating as the hypocritical smiles disappeared from their faces into solemnness, bewilderment, indifference, and worry. Jiao Long slowly sat down on the main seat and spoke with a gloomy voice. The sudden appearance of 2 Gu masters. What do you make of it? These are 2 lawless lunatics, publicly killing people. That pitiful Ouyang Gong. We were just here sitting with him a moment ago. I feel like these 2's origins are highly suspicious. What hidden elders? That is only that Zhang clan girl's one-sided statement. From these 2's behaviors, they are very likely to be demonic Gu masters. That's right. Occasions like demonic paths Gu masters entering the caravan are common. I bet that Zhang clan girl was threatened by them. Jialong nodded. My thoughts are also about the same as yours. Zhang clan's proud personality and their strengths are all known to us. How could there be any hidden elders? But these two are vicious and also rank 3 peak stage. Yes, this is troublesome. These two don't look to be old, but have already reached rank 3 peak stage. Such talent. Ha ha ha. Everything has merits and demerits. The way I see it, this is also good. Their strengths will greatly increase our power. A vice leader spoke. The crucial thing is how can we use them for our benefits? Just now, I took the initiative to invite them to discuss these matters and make them work for us, but it ended up in failure. Jia Long heaved a sigh. Humph, not lending their strength? When the beast groups attack, who can do nothing? By then, it's not up to them. A vice leader spoke in a displeased tone. This matter needs to be considered properly. Demonic goo masters are arrogant and unyielding. Trying to force them with only external pressure won't work. They need to be pressured from both inside and outside. I am not sure what Brother Gong's son is suggesting. My suggestion is simple, but I am afraid you might not like it. It is to give a portion of the goods to those two. They will naturally step forward to protect their goods when the time comes. The camp fell into silence immediately. Jialong looked around before speaking. This suggestion is good. Humans die for wealth and birds die for food. Without any clan's backing, demonic goo masters have an intense thirst towards cultivation resources. Moreover, you don't need to be worried about incurring losses. Did you forget O Clan? The pondering gazes of the group immediately started brightening. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing's sudden appearance had made Zhang Clan into an influential force in the caravan. While O Clan was thrown by them into the weakest position, O Clan's father and son were dead. The remaining 2 to 3 small fry in the O Clan group were nothing to worry about. The goods held by O Clan seemed quite substantial. Uncle, I have an important matter to inform you. Chun Xian had constantly been paying attention to the tent, and once the discussion inside was over, he approached the Chun clan's caravan leader Qin Shuangjin. Qin Shuangjin grabbed his hand. I know what you want to say. This is not the right place. Let's go. The two returned to their own tent, and after confirming no one was eavesdropping, Qin Xian spoke. Uncle, do you remember I reported to you about how Zhang Zhu was murdered? Qin Shuangjin's face was grave as he nodded his head. Zhang Zhu was killed by someone with bone spears. And today, that He Tu and Bai Yun also used bone spears. That is it. Uncle, those two are harboring some unfathomable motives, are very ruthless. We need to make their crime known and combine our strength to kill off this danger early. Qin Xian was agitated. Qin Shuangjin slowly shook his head and sighed. Qin Xian was puzzled. Uncle, you don't approve? It is not that I don't approve, but that it is not feasible. I saw with my own eyes. We have evidence. As long as we announce the matter about them killing Zhang Zhu, no one will tolerate these backstabbing traitors. Evidence. There is witness testimony, but what about material evidence? Qin Shuangjin scoffed. Even if we have material evidence, what good it would do? My nephew, only evidence is of no use. The main thing is whether you have the strength. Just before, they killed the O clan's father and son. You also saw that, and others also saw it. We are all witnesses, but is it any use? We are all from different clans, but with us having different motives, how could we deal against these two foes? Uncle, are we going to just ignore them? They are too dangerous. I can't even sleep properly. What if they find out that I know? The more Qin Xian spoke, the more fearful he became. Humph, you think too greatly of yourself. You think they don't know about you? Maybe they already know, or maybe they already saw you, but didn't make a move. Why is that? Because you are nothing to worry about. Qin Xian, stop being naive. In this cold world, the only thing that matters is strength. Qin Shuangjin heaved a deep sigh. Qin Xian remained dazed at the spot. He clenched his fists. His uncle's words struck his young heart, and he couldn't say anything for a long while. Chapter 253. Only the dead are clean. Dark clouds filled the sky, bringing forth a heavy atmosphere and signs of heavy rain. The caravan moved along the mountain path with a solemn atmosphere. All the large black-skinned fat beetles in the caravan were dead. 2 winged snakes remained, but in a crippled state. Instead, it was the baggage toads that survived mostly, all because they were small in size and moved pretty fast, easily hiding from the wild beast attacks. As for the ostriches, They were similar in size to the backpack toads, but they had a habit of burying their heads in the ground once they sensed any threats, so this caused their casualty to be the highest. Shang Xinci was mixed in the crowd, her gaze somewhat complex as she looked at the dozen of baggage toads beside her. The goods these baggage toads were carrying were all Zhang clans. Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing didn't participate in the discussion, but the caravan leaders still sent large quantities of goods to her. All of this because of strength, Shang Xinci sighed. Previously, when Zhang Zhu was here, these caravan leaders showed an indifferent attitude, but now, they were polite to the extent that they even seemed to currying favor with her. Moreover, when these Gu masters and the servants looked at her now, their gazes carried reverence and fear. All these changes are due to them. Shang Xinci gave a complex gaze towards Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing, who were not that far away. On one hand, she received a feeling of security from Fang and Bai, while on the other hand, the kind-hearted her felt fear from how they were able to easily kill people. Ha ha! It seems we have really frightened that girl. Bai Ning Bing was walking side by side with Fang Yuan and feeling Shang Xinci's gaze. She laughed softly. 7 to 8 days had passed since they killed O clan's father and son. This had affected the whole caravan, including Shang Xinci and Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai did not even dare to breath loudly in front of Fang and Bai, while Shang Xinci also didn't dare to match Fang Yuan's gaze anymore. Such reactions were all within Fang Yuan's expectations. This master and servant pair grew up in Zhang clan. Since young, the righteous path ideology was ingrained into them. It was inevitable for them to be aware of the differences when Fang and Bai displayed their demonic nature. They would have to change their thought process to accept these two demonic path figures. Fang Yuan wasn't worried. They would have no choice but to accept and compromise when they face external pressure. After all, humans wanted to keep on living. After few beast group attacks, the estrangement in their hearts would gradually disappear. The problem now is him. Fang Yuan looked at Chun Xian. This young Gu master was the guy that fled together with Zhang Zhu. Fang Yuan had thought he was already smashed into meat paste by white feather-flying elephant, but to think he was actually alive Gu masters that possessed unusual Gu worms, even if their cultivations were not high, could not be looked down upon. Fang Yuan had lost the earth-hearing eargrass and had no other scouting methods, causing him to overlook Chen Xian. He also did not know how much the latter had found out. But regardless, he had countermeasures for everything. He was cautious in nature and always considered failures first. At that time, he already had measures prepared if someone found out. Thus, after he killed Zhang Zhu, he intentionally displayed formidable strength. If someone had really found out, they would thus be scared by Fang and Bai's vicious strength, and would keep themselves hidden. That O clan's father and son ran themselves into the line of fire. Had it not been for O Fei coming to find trouble, Fang Yuan would have looked for trouble himself or display his formidable methods during beast group attacks. Naturally, Fang Yuan had many methods to strike back even if he was exposed. The caravan leader Jiao Long was one such chess piece. He was Jia Fu's subordinate, and Fang Yuan had received a token from Jia Fu back at Guyu village. As long as he showed the command token, he could obtain Jiao Long's trust for several actions. However, for every single plan, no matter how perfect it appeared, accidents could always occur when they were implemented. Also known as, man proposes, but God disposes one. Even if Fang Yuan had plentiful experience, was astute and had deep foresight, he also had the possibility to fail. But it was because of this that life could be so brilliant and full of uncertainty. Fang Yuan's first consideration was the worst outcome, that if his luck was extremely bad and someone saw him, or he left behind ironclad evidence when he killed Zhang Zhu, and it led to Shang Xinci realizing the truth, she would feel deep hatred towards him, someone who bit the hands that fed him. What to do then? Simple. Kill Shang Xinci. She was only a mortal now, and killing her was very simple. Shang clan's clan leader also didn't know she was his own daughter. There would be no repercussions from Shang clan if he killed her secretly. Looking at the outcome now, Zhang Zhu was dead, but Fang Yuan's luck wasn't the best as he left behind a trail. But it was also not the worst. At least Shang Xinci was still in the dark. Fang Yuan was sure of this because Shang Xinci was still young and her emotions were completely exposed in his eyes. There is a crocodile elephant 2 group ahead. A crocodile elephant group is charging towards us. Be on guard, be on guard. An investigative goo master hurried towards the caravan from ahead, bringing bad news that a disturbance occurred in the caravan before quickly turning calm. It is just crocodile elephants. No need to panic. We don't have enough manpower to defend ourselves here. Correct. Everyone disperse. Enter the rainforests. Goo masters gave forth the most sensible command. People were already in a very strained state and were able to quickly disperse in all directions. If they had encountered such situation before Feiho Mountain, they might be worried about their goods and keep on hesitating. Now, however, they firmly gave up the goods without taking another glance at them, concentrating on fleeing. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing directly charged straight into the rainforest while protecting Shang Xinci and Xiao Dai. He was not surprised at the crocodile elephant group's arrival because it was his plan. Rumble, the crocodile elephant group, stomped its way through. Soon there were blood-curdling screams and sound of trees falling down. Fang Yuan carefully led Shang Xinci and others through the rainforest, but there were too many crocodile elephants. They still ran into one. Crocodile elephants were small in size, about the same size as yaks, which allowed them to be more agile. Their whole body were covered in scales like that of a crocodile with defense that far surpassed white feather-flying elephants. Their tails that was similar to that of crocodiles, trailing along the ground. Ah! Xiao Dai let out a scream upon the sight of this hill-like crocodile elephant charging at them. Shang Xinci was also pale. No need to worry. Fang Yuan indifferently said, before charging towards the crocodile elephant. One human and one elephant collided midway, their collision producing a loud sound. Fang Yuan took 2 steps back, and the white light armor on his body flickered thrice. But that crocodile elephant, its skull directly shattered and blood spurted out as it fell on the ground, pushed back by a dozen steps before colliding against the trunk of a large tree and stopped. Amazing! Xiao Dai's eyes were wide open with shock. This was an ordinary crocodile elephant and not a 100-beast king. While Fang Yuan possessed snow-silver primeval essence along with the strength of 2 boars and a crocodile, handling it was naturally very easy. However, Shang Xinci and Xiao Dai had never seen such fierce scene. Zhang Zhu did not have great physical strength and was also a healing goo master, so he relied mainly on dodging and assisting during a battle. Fang Yuan, however, met the attack head-on, fighting without restraint. This naturally left a deep impression on the master and servant pair. About 2 hours later, the crocodile elephant group gradually left and the caravan group started walking out of the rainforest. After the casualties were counted, they had only lost a goo master and a dozen servants. It was not a big loss. The caravan set on their journey again after reorganizing all the goods. Several days later, they were out of Xiangya Mountain region and began their journey to Mu Bei Mountain. Within the next half a month, the caravan was attacked by black rock bears, iron-crowned deers, and other beast groups. And because Fang and Bai acted as inseparable bodyguards, Shang Xinci and Xiao Dai suffered no harm. This close contact all the time started to change the master and servant's attitude. Shang Xinci started to get much closer to Fang Yuan, cheerfully talking with him and no longer evading his gaze. Xiao Dai had completely changed into a worshipper of Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing. Worshipping the strong was the character of all living beings, because strength meant higher probability of survival. Moreover, Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing were people with principles even though they were of demonic path. In the 2 girls' perspective, those 2 did not ask for anything nor took advantage of them, only returning a favor. This conduct was full of heroic aura, and even among righteous path, how many people had such character? No matter how ugly Fang Yuan looked, in the master and servant's heart, he was much more likable than the many hypocritical and crafty righteous path people. Several days later, the caravan entered Mu Bei Mountain region. Zombies started appearing. Mu Bei Mountain hadn't always had the same name. Over 100 years ago, there was a large clan on this mountain that a demonic goo master changed everything that he used to be a servant of this clan. At the day of his wedding, his beautiful wife had been seized by a goo master of the clan and humiliated to death. He buried this hatred deep into his heart, and as luck would have it, he obtained the inheritance of Zombie King, a demonic head. After enduring hardships for nearly 100 years, with rank 5 cultivation, he commanded an army of zombies and attacked the clan, slaughtering everyone. He did not spare their corpses, turning them into zombies. After finishing all this, he erected a huge tombstone in the ruins of the clan. On the tombstone, he carved his wife's name. This event shook the whole southern border. This mountain has been called Mu Bei Mountain ever since then. Zombies roamed free on the mountain, killing wild beasts or passerbys, absorbing blood as their food. And the tomain on them would infect the corpses, producing new zombies. Like this, there were endless amount of zombies on Mu Bei Mountain to protect the safety of the trade route. Clans organized zombie hunting squadrons every year to clean up these zombies. But no matter how much they cleaned up, they could not kill all the zombies due to their endless numbers. After all, the zombie hunting squadrons were limited in size. With so many mountains and southern border and dangers in the way, they had to make considerable expenditures for this long expedition. It was a situation where they had to invest a lot but gained less. And even then it was impossible to overturn Mu Bei Mountain. As long as a zombie escaped, a zombie army would appear again after a short while. After failing several times, even after large-scale expeditions, the enthusiasm of the people started to disappear. The caravan decided to camp at the base of Mu Bei Mountain for the night. The stars were shining brightly in the sky. Fang Yuan looked at the dark Mo Bei Mountain, a thoughtful look flashing through his eyes. It is time. These people are no longer valuable. It is time to settle all these troubles. Chun Xian must die, but just disposing of him alone could make the situation even more troublesome. How much did he know? Who had he revealed to? And were there anyone else who had seen the murder? Fang Yuan didn't know any of this. However, Fang Yuan had no intention to find out. Because in his plan, Chun Xian would die and others would also die. Only the dead are clean. Chapter 254. Assault of the Zombie Army. Ding Hao looked down at the caravan from the base of the mountain as he hid behind some bushes, licking his lips excitedly. According to the information in the cave, as long as I kill 1,000 people and amass a zombie army, I can leave this place and go to Zhaozhe Mountain to become a formal disciple of Master. Ding Hao was originally a villager but was recruited to be a laborer by a passing caravan. However, the caravan was attacked by a large number of zombies when they were passing through Mu Bei Mountain. He was abandoned along with dozens of other servants as cannon fodder. While all the other servants died one after another, he ran deep into the mountain in panic. Just when he was driven into a corner, he discovered a cave. None of the zombies dared to approach this cave. He entered this cave and discovered a demonic inheritance. As it turns out, this was the hidden inheritance of that demonic goo master who killed the whole clan and erected the tombstone in the ruins. This inheritance was deeply hidden and only mortals were allowed to inherit it. Ding Hao awakened his aperture in this cave and began to cultivate, passing each test one by one. He only had C grade aptitude originally, but with the use of a rare goo in the cave, his aptitude upgraded to B grade. He concentrated fully on cultivating, and after spending over 8 years, he reached rank 3 realm, which was the criteria to enter the final secret chamber. The final secret chamber contained a stone slab which had an inscription left by that demonic goo master. I profess myself as the second zombie king. If a fated individual truly arrives here, if you so wish, you can go to Zhaozhe Mountain to be my official disciple and follow me to roam the southern border. As the final test. The second zombie king required the inheritor to kill 1,000 people and also raise a large zombie army. There were detailed standards to the test, such as how many white-hair zombies, black-hair zombies, and green-hair zombies should be in the zombie army. However, if there was a blue-hair zombie, just one would suffice to meet the condition. Ding Hao is an honest man, and honest people usually had a strong point. They were steadfast. He cultivated on Mu Bei Mountain alone for over 8 years. He had to endure the silence and loneliness, having only the zombies as his companions as he cultivated bit by bit to rank 3. He had been a servant who could only be a spectator to the world of goo masters, thus he did not understand many things. During the time of his bewilderment, this inscription on the stone slab no doubt gave him a whole new direction and a goal to strive. The fact that the second zombie king had also been a servant and their backgrounds were similar resonated even more with Ding Hao's heart. After reading the inscription, Ding Hao started killing people and amassing his zombie army. Ding Hao soon realized these two missions actually complemented each other. He could use the corpses of the people he killed to obtain new zombies, and the new zombies could thereby increase his strength to kill more people. Bay Mountain was located by one of the three most important trade routes of southern border, with caravans passing through it every month. Ding Hao spent another 3 years of time to reach this point where he was close to accomplishing the mission. The caravan at the base of this mountain would be his final stepping stone to success. And it was a perfect prey. There were caravans of all sizes, some big and some small. Ding Hao could do nothing more than hide far away every time a large-scale caravan passed by. He did not dare to attack the mid-scale caravan as well. Only against these small-scale caravans could Ding Hao make his move and secretly command the zombies to attack. When his luck was good, these caravans would abandon some livestock or servants to flee. When his luck was bad and ran into some tough nuts, the zombies would be slaughtered and inflict great losses to him. At those times, he could only slowly amass more zombies again. However, this caravan was smaller than even small-scale caravans and seemed to have already suffered huge damage. It was like an old man struggling at death's door who could fall over with a light push. Ding Hao had confidence he could deal with this caravan. He even felt this was a gift sent by the heavens. It was nighttime. Dark clouds flitted past in the sky, hiding the moon. The light was dim around the camp. Kill. Ding Hao's eyes suddenly brightened as he willed. The zombie army, which was already arranged properly, moved stealthily towards the camp from all directions. What sound is this? A very vigilant investigative Gu master positioned outside the camp seemed to have heard something. What is it? The few Gu masters beside him were tensed. The 5 Gu masters motionlessly stared at the darkness ahead of them. Although the moon was covered by the dark clouds, there was a huge bonfire burning in the camp. The bonfire produced crackling sounds as the wind brushed past. In the midst of the flickering flames, a zombie covered with white hair hopped into the investigative Gu master's vision. The few Gu masters looked at each other before laughing out loud. Ha ha. A white-hair zombie. TSK, getting worried over nothing. Scared the hell out of me. Shao San, go take care of this unlucky zombie. The leader of this group of Gu masters said indifferently. White-hair zombies were very weak, weaker than even the common wild beasts. Yes, boss. A young Gu master laughed and walked towards the zombie. Be careful of its corpse poison. It will be troublesome if you're infected, as I do not have an antidote type Gu. The healing master in the group reminded. Understood. Understood. Do you take me as a 3-year-old child? The young Gu master impatiently waved his hand. If he was really infected with corpse poison, he could ask other Gu masters to heal him, but it would cost half a primeval stone at minimum. However, white-hair zombies attacked in a set pattern and was easy to dodge. The young Gu master had already killed many of them since entering Mu Bay Mountain. There is no need to worry about this thing as long as I pay attention to dodging. Ugh. The young Gu master was mumbling to himself when he suddenly stopped on the spot. His voice stuck at his throat. His pupils shrunk rapidly and his mouth opened wide, his face revealing an extremely frightened expression. What is it? The 4 Gu masters at the rear felt something amiss and immediately asked. The young Gu master came to his senses. His whole body shook as if it was electrocuted before he immediately turned around and began running. Quick! Sound the alarm. There are zombies! He screamed, his face filled with extreme fear. It is only a white-hair zombie. Why are you freaking out? Wah, what the foo dash? The 4 Gu masters all screamed. There were a few hundred white-hair zombies hopping towards the camp. There were also the stronger black-hair zombies mixed within the horde. Under the illumination of the bonfire, one could make out the overlapping figures in the darkness, but no one knew how many zombies were pressing forward. Clang, clang, clang. In the quiet camp, the sound of the bells suddenly rang. There is a zombie group moving towards the camp. They have surrounded the whole camp. Quick, quick. Everyone prepare to defend. Jia Long and some vice leaders climbed up a wooden wall and observed the situation, their expressions extremely grave. Damn it. Which deity did this caravan offend? Such incredibly bad luck. I have been to Mu Bay Mountain dozens of times, but have never seen such a large-scale zombie group. There is no use in complaining. Since we can't change this situation, we have to fight with our lives on the line if we want to live. We should combine our strength and defeat this zombie group. Everyone in the camp felt their morale increasing as they growled in anger. In contrast, the zombie army was completely silent, other than the constant sound of the jumping and landing. The troop arrangement in the two sides formed a strange and clear contrast. The battle unfolded completely. Gu masters relied on the defense of wooden walls and launched all kinds of long-range attacks. All kinds of color flashed around the camp. Icicles, fireballs, vines, rolling boulders, and so on collided right into the vanguard of the zombies. Large numbers of white-hair zombies fell, cut into pieces, burnt to ashes, frozen to ice cubes or stone-rolled into meat paste. Kill, slaughter them all. Ha ha ha. Ding Hao was observing all this from up the mountain with a cold smile on his face, thought he was no longer the inexperienced guy he once was. These white-hair zombies were cannon fodder meant to waste the Goo Master's primeval essence. Sure enough, after some time, the Goo Master's attacks became less frequent and weak. I am out of steam. I don't have much primeval essence left. I also need to recover my primeval essence. Can anyone take my place? Damn it. Why are these white-hair zombies not decreasing? There were too few Goo Masters in the caravan while the white-hair zombies seemed to be endless. Finally, they were able to resist the pressure and reach the wooden wall, under the attack of the zombie group. These temporarily constructed crude wooden walls immediately let out dangerous creaking sounds. Damn it. Block them. Block them. Call in the reserve forces. Both sides entered a deadlock around the wooden wall. One side charged forward while the other side guarded this barrier. The huge losses to the white-hair zombies caused Ding Hao's heart to ache. It is your turn, my babies. With a thought in his mind, a batch of black-haired zombies charged forward from the rear and entered the battlefield. White-haired zombies were slow and could be harmed by sunlight, so they couldn't move around in daytime. If they fed on blood for years, they could evolve into black-haired zombies. Black-haired zombies were covered with black hair. Their strength and defensive ability were stronger than the white-haired zombies, and their hopping speed was much faster. Although they still received damage from sunlight, they didn't fear it like the white-haired zombies. Black-haired zombies had the strength of 100 Beast King. Ding Hao sent over 50 black-haired zombies in this batch, all of them charging forward in a group. They looked for a gap in the camp's defensive wall and immediately destroyed a part of it like dried twigs, despite the camp sending more manpower to reinforce this gap. Several black-haired zombies were still able to charge into the inner camp. A black-haired zombie swept around its arms and sent a rank 1 Goo Master flying. The Goo Master fell on the ground and was unable to stand up immediately. The black-haired zombie pounced at him. I am finished. The Goo Master closed his eyes in despair, but suddenly he heard a loud sound. He opened his eyes. A strong figure was blocking in front of him, while that black-haired zombie collapsed far away. It is Lord Heitu of Zheng Clan. The Goo Master's heart shook. Grr. That black-haired zombie's chest had caved in from Fang Yuan's punch, but it wasn't dead. Instead, it hopped up and charged towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was covered with a layer of white light armor. He slightly frowned and waited for it to come near him. Then he grabbed its 2 arms and pulled them fiercely. The black-haired zombie was immediately torn apart into 2 halves. Foul blood that carried corpse poison splattered, but was completely repelled by the white light armor. Fang Yuan casually threw the 2 halves of the corpse. Even a myriad Beast King level blue-hair zombie would die from such injuries. Thank you, Lord Heitu, for saving my life. The rescued Goo Master was completely absorbed in Fang Yuan's momentum and said with a voice filled with joy and reverence. Fang Yuan ignored him but directed his gaze towards the chaotic battlefield. Chapter 255. Ding Hao, get out here. By now, the wooden walls were already mostly collapsed, as hordes of zombies charged into the camp and fought with the Goo Masters. Upon seeing this, Fang Yuan was already certain this zombie army was manipulated by Ding Hao. If it was an ordinary zombie group, they would all swarm in like bees, or the black-haired zombies would attack after the white-haired zombies died. Where would there be battle tactics like shown here? Someone was clearly controlling them from behind, and no doubt, the one controlling these zombies was Ding Hao. Fang Yuan remembered the second zombie king left behind an inheritance after exterminating the clan on Mu Bei Mountain. The inheritor of this inheritance was Ding Hao. He later went on to become second zombie king's eldest disciple, and although he was of demonic path, he was very loyal. Later in the battle between righteous and demonic on Etion Mountain, he took the place of second zombie king of his own choice and died in the battle. I had thought of looking for you, but to think you would deliver yourself to me, that saves me a lot of time. Fang Yuan's plan had been to use this Ding Hao to eradicate the caravan and kill everyone. Although he had methods to attract the beast groups, it wasn't easy to control the size of it. The caravan strength had already decreased to a very low level, and if large amounts of beast groups were attracted, it would instead cause his own life to be in danger. It would be even more troublesome to protect Shang Xinci on top of that. Under such circumstances, Ding Hao was the perfect chess piece. But where is this guy hiding? Fire blazed all around. Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes and observed his surroundings. He needs to be at a high ground if he wants to observe the battlefield and command the zombie army. Of course, he might have other goo worms which could give him a bird's-eye view of the camp. Regardless, the place he is hiding in should be convenient to escape. Fang Yuan lost the earth-hearing eargrass and possessed no other investigative methods, thus he had to rely on speculations. The battles were becoming more desperate. While hundreds of zombies were scattered all over the ground, there were also catastrophic losses to the Goo Masters. Under the endless flood of the zombies, the Goo Masters retreated bit by bit and soon reached the central area of the camp. There, a bunker was made by piling up goods, and some rank 1 Goo Masters were using many methods to reinforce it. There are too many zombies. The defense here will fall sooner or later. We need to break the siege. Break the siege? How will we break through? There are dozens of black-hair zombies. It would be better to reinforce our defense and wait for dawn. The zombies would receive a huge decrease in strength under the sunlight. We won't even need to make a move, and they will retreat by themselves. Arguments arose, and people were divided into 2 sides. One wanted to break through while the other wanted to defend their positions. The 2 sides kept on arguing while the zombie horde was already pressing closer. This temporarily formed caravan showed its biggest weakness right now, being unable to truly unite and lacking a strong figure to take control of the situation. Fang Yuan had been observing the situation as a spectator. Now, he suddenly stood up. Stop shouting. The noisy scene quieted down almost instantly. In everyone's eyes, he was a rank 3 peak stage Goo Master, one of the strongest experts in the caravan. Especially now at this critical life and death juncture, Fang Yuan had even more authority. Fang Yuan swept his cold and sharp gaze at everyone. His ugly face, under the illumination of the fire, was menacing and ruthless. All those that wants to stay and defend are idiots. Why should we stay here if we can break through? He fiercely scolded, giving off a strong impression. The Goo Masters who were shouting about staying and defending showed indignant expressions, but they didn't dare to retort, while the Goo Masters who insisted on breaking the siege were joyous. Lord He-Tu is wise. Lord He-Tu, we will follow you. Right now, only Lord He-Tu can save us from this desperate crisis. They continued to praise Fang Yuan to the high heavens, wanting to make him take charge of the dangerous assault. However, Fang Yuan sneered and cursed. Shut up. You bunch thinking of breaking through are even greater fools. Ugh, the Goo Masters that were praising Fang Yuan stiffened, their expressions fluctuating rapidly, while those who insisted on defending their positions showed ridicule and mocking expressions. Then, Sir He-Tu, what do you suggest? Jia Long's expression was dark as he spoke in a heavy voice with an unkind gaze. Humph. Be it defending the position or breaking through the siege, the situation needs to be investigated properly first. Do you know the scale of this zombie horde? What if there is a large group of them hiding in the darkness? Wouldn't breaking through then be walking right into a trap? And if this is just all of them, and you guys insist on defending your positions while you could clearly escape, the bloody odor would attract more zombies and you would just be sending yourselves to death. Fang Yuan spoke with such vigor that his saliva went flying out. Nobody would show a good expression after being scolded harshly. Shuang-Jin asked in a gloomy voice, Then what good suggestion do you have? Fang Yuan opened his eyes wide in anger and pointed at Shuang-Jin. You fools, your brain is filled with shit. I have spoken for so long and no one understands. Of course we are going to break through, but first we are going to check our surroundings. Investigative Goo Masters, you need to work hard. Being pointed out by Fang Yuan and reprimanded, Shuang-Jin's expression turned ugly and a fire burned in his heart. However, he still vividly remembered that time when Fang Yuan killed Clan father and son, so he could only suppress his anger. Many became dissatisfied with Fang Yuan's aggressiveness, but at the same time, in this situation, such aggressiveness instead gave them a sense of indescribable security. Soon, a group was organized to break through the siege under Fang Yuan's manipulation. Break through that direction. Fang Yuan said solemnly as he pointed towards southeast direction. Yes, Lord He-Tu. Remember, scouting is the priority. Protect yourselves and retreat if you can't continue. Fang Yuan smiled and patted the group leader's shoulder. The group leader's heart immediately relaxed and Fang Yuan's image in his mind was no longer as repulsive as before. The zombie horde reached the final defensive line and battles issued everywhere. Breaking the siege group charged forward 300 steps before they were forced to retreat. Too terrifying, I discovered at least hundreds of zombies in the darkness at that side. The investigative Goo Master's heart was still fearful as he made the report. Everyone turned slightly pale at these words. No problem, take a rest. Second group, break through that direction. Fang Yuan commanded. This group charged through 400 to 500 steps before they had to retreat. There are too many zombies. The investigative goo master was pale. Fang Yuan let them rest and said to the newly formed third group, "Go in that direction. But that side is a valley." The group leader was somewhat puzzled. Slap. Fang Yuan slapped the man. "If I say go, then go. Don't give me nonsense." The group leader was stunned by the slap, but he didn't dare to meet Fang Yuan's angry gaze, so he turned around and led his group to the direction Fang Yuan pointed. Fang Yuan had organized 3 breaking the siege groups, sending them out to probe the situation and finally rule out the possible areas. The only place remaining is that high slope now. If I am not wrong, Ding Hao is definitely hiding there. Fang Yuan sneered inwardly and continued to arrange breaking the siege groups. These people are really not giving up. Ding Hao's brows furrowed but soon relaxed. Haha, you guys might have been able to break through if it was an ordinary zombie horde. But too bad for you. This zombie horde is being controlled by me. He mobilized the zombies in the darkness to constantly replenish any gaps. At the same time, he deployed massive forces towards several areas. Several rounds later, the casualties in breaking the siege groups increased to a disastrous amount. This is enough. Breaking through can't succeed. We can't make any more sacrifices in vain. Sigh, looks like we can only defend our positions. Everyone persevere. Endure till the sun rises. These zombies would be weak as paper then. Stop your nonsense. Success is in sight. I will personally lead this time. Bai Yun, you stand guard here. Fang Yuan cursed and aggressively insisted on breaking through. Because of his aggressiveness, Goo Masters could only form another group. 8 Goo Masters charged out with Fang Yuan in the lead. With enormous strength combined with snow-silver primeval essence and canopy goo, he was able to easily force his way through the encirclement. Damn, that side is somewhat thin. Ding Hao also couldn't prevent Fang Yuan from breaking through. He hadn't thought Fang Yuan would choose this side to break through. This side was a dead end, and he had continuously mobilized the zombies to other sides to fill up the gaps caused by the previous breakthrough attempts, causing the zombies in this side to be the least in numbers. They really succeeded. They broke through. The people in the camp were looking at this scene with wide eyes. Although in the process, 5 Goo Masters died, Fang Yuan and the 2 other Goo Masters successfully broke through. We are saved. Quick, let's break through that side. Everyone was joyous in the camp. Don't even think about succeeding. Ding Hao gritted his teeth and immediately mobilized zombies to fill the gap. The camp was still in the process of organizing while white-hair zombies were already covering the area Fang Yuan broke through. There were also 5 black-hair zombies pouncing upon Fang Yuan's group. The 2 Goo Masters were shell-shocked. Follow me. Fang Yuan shouted and charged towards the direction where Ding Hao was hiding. The 2 Goo Masters couldn't think properly because of their fear and subconsciously followed Fang Yuan. Humph. Choosing to run towards me. Ha ha ha. It seems even heaven wants you dead. Ding Hao's lips curled up as he looked proudly towards 2 zombies beside him. These 2 zombies were huge, with green hair covering their body. They were green-hair zombies which was stronger than black-hair zombies and could show a power equivalent to that of a 1,000-beast king during night. Ding Hao was only able to raise these 2 during his many years in the mountain. Go. He willed, and these 2 green-hair zombies immediately charged out. 80 steps later, they met Fang Yuan's group. Fang Yuan met one head-on, even though he had strength of 2 boars and a crocodile. They were evenly matched, and both were sent back several steps from the collision. The 2 remaining Goo Masters battled the other green-hair zombie, but they were being pressured and the situation already looked dangerous. Let me help. Fang Yuan activated jumping grass and leapt towards the battle. The 2 Goo Masters were exulted and were about to express their thanks, but without warning, 2 spiral bone spears shot towards them. PSH. 2 piercing sounds determined the 2 Goo Masters' deaths. Ding Hao had been observing the battle and seeing this unexpected change raised a huge doubt in his mind. This distraction caused the 2 green-hair zombies to slow down. The next words Fang Yuan spoke caused even more shock to Ding Hao, only to hear him shout, "Ding Hao, get out here."